Expecting another capacity crowd in Richmond, Virginia, the 124th consecutive sellout for VCU as the Rams welcome the Wichita State Shockers to town in a battle of two of the top defensive teams in the land. From inside another sold-out Siegel Center in Richmond, alongside Mark Adams, I'm Rich Hollenberg. And Mark, these two programs have become big-time players and big-time rivals in college basketball over the last decade.
These big-time programs have left a big-time mark on the recent history of college basketball. These two teams have played each other against each other in some of the biggest games that we've seen over the last couple of years. In 2013, Wichita State won here in Richmond. What did they do? They went on to the Final Four. In 2011, Richmond went to Wichita State in a bracket buster game and won in the Roundhouse. Get ready, gang. These are two big-time programs going after each other again today in 2018 here in Richmond.
We'll have more from the Shockers and Rams rivalry, despite only playing 4 times in the past. We'll have more on that coming up later. But as for this game, Wichita State comes in a very young club, but they are led by a super senior.
And he must step up. Marcus McDuffie must play big in this basketball game on the road. There are his numbers 1 year ago. Pedestrian at 8.5 points a game, 3.1 rebounds. How good is he this year? All-American type player, 19 points a game, 5.2 rebounds for Wichita State to win and go against Havoc. Marcus McDuffie must finish and play like an All-American today in Richmond, Virginia.
Wichita State's won 3 straight, 5 of their last 6. Like VCU, they win with defense. The Rams are 3rd in the nation in defensive efficiency, allowing just 63 points per game. Your officials this afternoon: Jeff Clark, Mark Schnurr, Tony Henderson. Wichita State will be in the road black, VCU in their home whites. And Greg Marshall, who has authored a huge turnaround in Wichita State in the 12 years he's been there. 7 straight NCAAs, including, as Mark mentioned, that Final Four berth in 2013. They've won 25 or more games in each of the last 9 years. And the Shockers control the opening tip with number 3 in black, Ricky Torres, running the point. They go inside. Echenike off the window to open the scoring for the Shockers.
Jamie Echenike has been the most consistent Shocker inside by far. Turnover early by VCU on the travel.
VCU turns it over just under 13 or under 15 times a game. Your starters are led by Marcus Evans, number 2, a transfer over from Rice, which is where his head coach, Mike Rhodes, started his head coaching career in Division I basketball. Now
here
comes your first look at Havoc.
Here comes the full court pressure from VCU. They really like to run and jump, double team. Here it comes. Your walk.
Here's McDuffie in the corner. And Marcus McDuffie off to a good start. And offensively, that's a great sign for Wichita State.
One thing against full court pressure in favor of Wichita State, if they can handle the pressure in the backcourt, they can move the ball and get early good shots in the front court, a la what Marcus McDuffie just did.
They go inside out, does VCU. Dariante Jenkins inside to Marcus Santos Silva, who gets fouled. No shot on the play. It's the first foul by Wichita State. There's Mike Rhodes in his 2nd season in Richmond as the VCU head coach, but he was here when Shaka Smart authored that run to the Final Four in 2011. They made 7 straight NCAAs while Shaka Smart was here and while Mike Rhodes was his top assistant. Here's Evans. Off the window, tough shot from Marcus Evans.
Marcus Evans is here at VCU because he played once upon a time at Rice for Mike Rhodes, who engineered one of the tremendous turnarounds. They won 23 games at Rice just 2 seasons ago under Mike Rhodes' leadership.
Echenike off the window again. Nice soft touch from the big man.
Jamie Echenike has learned how to see the game in slow motion and finish simple plays. He's been really good for Wichita State over the last 5 games.
Greg Marshall told us earlier today he's been the most pleasant surprise on this Shockers roster. Long rebound from number 4 in black, Samaje Hayes-Jones. Wichita off to a good start offensively, 3 for 3 from the field against this tough VCU D.
Look for Echenike to get another touch. Wichita State really wants to pound the ball in the paint early. Turnover.
Here comes Jenkins in transition. And the Vanimal, Isaac Vann with his first bucket of the game.
Keep an eye on number 23 in white, Isaac Vann. Rich, he's the guy today in shoot around, and as I've been watching them over the course of the season, has caught my eye.
A near turnover at midcourt. It'll stay Shockers basketball. Marcus Evans leads this VCU team in scoring, just under 13 a game, but he's coming off 2 Achilles surgeries, one on each heel, that has slowed him up a little bit.
Yeah, Marcus Evans, number 2 in white, in a word, was explosive at Rice. He's trying to regain that after those injuries.
There's another Wichita State turnover, and Vann pays it off at the other end.
Bad shot.
Offensive rebound, McDuffie. And he's fouled by Corey Douglas, number 4 in white. Well, defense leads to offense if you're the Rams.
Well, this is why this team has won 82% of their games, over 123 sellouts. Today, the 124th. When they get this rolling, Rich, it turns into havoc in a big way.
Since 2011, Mark, they are 102 and 21. As a matter of fact, in those 20 years of the Siegel Center, they've only lost more than 4 games at home once. That was last year. Wow. Beautiful play by Marcus McDuffie. That is a SportsCenter top 10 highlight in waiting.
Well, McDuffie has come out really, really good early.
That one's partially blocked. Santos Silva with the nice touch in his first 2 of the game.
Greg Marsh wanted the charge because Santos Silva always turns over that inside shoulder, and they set him up for it and still didn't get the call.
Santos Silva coming off a career-high 16 points to go along with 12 rebounds in their last game, which was a loss here at home to College of Charleston. Echenike blocked by Santos Silva.
Santos Silva wants it, really runs the floor well. Number 14 in white.
There's a long 3-pointer off the mark by Jenkins. Weak side rebound to Hayes Jones. Just over 4 minutes gone by. High-level basketball in the early going.
That was a high-level defensive possession for VCU. They gave Wichita State nothing off a dribble drive avenue.
Jenkins working on Stevenson. Left hand, got it. And VCU's on top for the first time, 10-9.
That's where Eric Stevenson, a freshman, is vulnerable. Off the dribble drive, and Jenkins just exposed him.
An 8-2 VCU run, halted by Samaje Hayes Jones with a pretty up and under with the left hand.
Well, that's leadership from Hayes Jones and Marcus McDuffie. 2 big baskets the last 2 possessions.
There's a foul on the floor. As we mentioned at the top of the telecast, VCU and Wichita State have only played 4 times in the past, but they've all been meaningful. We'll show you later.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by Mountain Dew. Do the do.
This is just the 5th time Wichita State and VCU have battled on the floor, but they've all been epic. All the way back in 2011, VCU made that memorable run to the Final Four. Part of that was spurred on by a road win from VCU in Wichita. Then you go to the NCAA tournament the next year, and VCU got a little bit more into Wichita State's mind with a 3-point win in the first round.
And then in 2013 was payback time. Malcolm Armstead from 18 feet as the Wichita State Shockers went on to win that game and go to the Final Four in 2013, much because of that early confidence that they gained here in Richmond, Virginia.
All 3 of those games decided by a grand total of 6 points. And there you see the banner that hangs here inside the Siegel Center. A Final Four run that Mike Rhodes was certainly a part of as the top assistant to Shaka Smart at the time.
You know, Rich, when I heard we were doing this game, all I could think of was how these two programs have literally changed the face of college basketball with their Final Four runs, with the dominance of home games for VCU, and how good Wichita State has been as a road warrior. It's a great matchup today.
All of VCU's points have come in the paint. That was a jumper that went awry. And Wichita State has a chance to extend their lead. They're up by 1 on the road.
Look at Wichita State. They really run their offense wide. They're trying to spread this defense and expose it. Well done.
Pays off with a 3 from Samaje Hayes-Jones. He's got an early 5.
Well, they got to get Santos Silva. There he finally gets a touch. He's been open. They've got to use him in the paint. Good touch.
Nice back door. And that's Malik Crowfield with the 2 off the feed from the big man, Santos Silva.
And Jamarius Burton lost vision and was burnt by it. Defensive breakdowns. VCU will make you pay.
I'll tell you what, both of these teams hang their hat on defense, but I've been impressed with them offensively so far.
I have too. The execution so far, taking care of the ball, spreading the floor, moving without the basketball. That's the biggest improvement I've seen for both teams so far early.
Hayes-Jones, air ball. Burton, the offensive rebound, can't get the putback to go. And that was from close range. Here's Jenkins in transition. Off the window.
Against Eric Stevenson again. Game plan for VCU is for Jenkins to go right at Stevenson and make him pay.
All 14 VCU points in the paint. Here's McDuffie. Another 3 from Marcus McDuffie, who's off to a blazing hot start with 8.
He's going to need to get 30. If he gets 30, they got a chance. So far, he's on a pretty good pace.
Jenkins working on Stevenson again, and Stevenson whistled for the foul. So Dariante Jenkins will step to the line. He already has 4 points on the game. 6'5" junior out of Utahville, South Carolina. Did a prep year at Hargrave Military Academy, not far from here in Richmond.
You know, VCU, we've documented, Rich, they've struggled offensively. Their shooting percentages have been down from 2-point range. They only make about half their shots from 2-point range. That's not very good, by the way. And they're making under 30% of their 3-point shots. So how do you cure that? You look for mismatches. You see where defensively you could expose someone. And right now, Jenkins doing a really nice job of taking the ball to the basket.
And you get out and run in transition, try and get some easy buckets, and they've been able to do that a little bit as well.
Havoc kind of helps that situation a little bit, doesn't it?
Absolutely. 17+ points off turnovers so far. Hayes-Jones, he's had a good start to this game. Freshman Burton. Attacking, and Hayes-Jones has another bucket. His 3rd field goal of the game gives Samaje Hayes-Jones 7 points.
Samaje Hayes-Jones and Marcus McDuffie are really good early in this game. They are leaders on the floor today.
And they call an offensive foul on VCU. That's on the freshman Williams.
Really good rotation on the backside. Morris Udeze just steps in and takes the charge right there. And sometimes VCU, they're not great at 2-foot jump stops. They'll leave their feet. They'll take offensive chances. You can set them up for the charge. Well done by the Shockers. Now with Marcus Duffy out of the game, who can score for Wichita State? That's been the question all season long. Samaje Hayes-Jones has been the guy that's been able to do that, but who else can contribute? Greg Marshall doesn't know. I don't know either.
Here's Morris Udeze. Kicks it back out. There's 5 on the shot clock, and VCU has another steal and a foul by Hayes-Jones. That prevents the breakaway bucket, but the damage done.
See how the offense breaks down? As soon as their go-to guy, McDuffie, goes out, VCU starts smelling blood in the water. Start jumping passing lanes, pressuring a little bit harder.
Yeah, Wichita State relying on Marcus McDuffie offensively brings to mind a couple other big-time teams like Purdue, who relies on Carson Edwards so much, like St. John's, who relies on Shamori Pons offensively.
Well, we saw Shamori Pons up close and personal. Man, is he good for St. John's.
The biggest difference being Marcus McDuffie is a frontline player. Those two, Carson Edwards, Shamori Pons, are backcourt players with the ball in their hands a lot.
Yeah, those guys can make their own plays, whereas Marcus McDuffie has to rely on his teammates to help him make plays.
Ricky Torres, one of those players, first-year player, JUCO transfer for Greg Marshall in Wichita State. He's working on a freshman, P.J. Bird, 24 and white. 8 minutes gone by. It's been an entertaining first half so far. Quick shot by Echenike after he gets the post touch, and he'll go to the line and shoot two. When we return, Wichita State looks to extend its 4-point lead on the road against Havoc. I know all Mark Adams wants in his stocking on Christmas morning is a basketball. That's what you're going to get, my friend. The annual NBA on Christmas Day tradition continuing with 5 of the best gifts anyone could ask for. At noon Eastern, it's Bucks-Knicks on ESPN. 3 Eastern, it's on ABC with the Thunder and the Rockets, followed by Sixers-Celtics and Lakers-Warriors. And then to cap it all off, Trailblazers and Jazz at 10:30 Eastern, back on ESPN. And there is a little bit of an NBA connection to what we're talking about today in front of us with VCU and Wichita State putting a couple players in the pros.
Well, there you see Troy Daniels with the Suns and Landry Shamet with the 76ers going up against those Celtics. I love his game. What a rookie season he's had. Fred VanVleet is the best 6th man in the NBA right now. He leads that depth charge off the bench for Toronto. And congratulations to Ron Baker, who was let go by the New York Knicks, went back to Wichita for a couple days, worked out on his own, and just signed a new deal with the Washington Wizards. I'm happy for you, Ron Baker.
As a matter of fact, tonight, in advance of that Christmas Day slate, Toronto is at Philly, so it'll be VanVleet versus Landry Shamet.
Nice, that'll be good.
Former Wichita State point guards.
There'll be some play-angry trash talking going on in that game.
If they're watching right now, they're not happy with what they just saw. Another Wichita State turnover. VCU a chance to make it a one-possession ball game. And here's Michael Gilmore, his first shot off the mark, weak side rebound, and a fresh shot clock for the Rams.
Yeah, no physical block off on the backside.
And still no Marcus McDuffie on the floor. It'll be interesting to see how long Greg Marshall keeps him and Samaje Haynes-Jones on the bench.
I can answer that question immediately. He's on the floor right now.
There you go.
You read his mind, Rich.
That's a scary thought, especially when you're talking about Greg Marshall.
You know, we sort of think alike, which is sort of scary too.
McDuffie and Haynes-Jones combining for 15 of the 19 Shockers points so far.
Look at McDuffie, really going to work hard to try to get open. VCU now will blanket him. There'll be no help off of Marcus McDuffie. There he is with the ball. That's big time. Charge.
And an offensive foul called on Marcus McDuffie.
You love it when guys come off the bench and contribute. And Malik Crowfield right here steps in, takes the charge. McDuffie a little bit out of control. Got by the first defender, didn't recognize the second. And the charge is drawn. And he will sit.
And now some full court pressure from the Shockers. Trying to give VCU a taste of their own medicine. Here's Marcus Evans. Only 2 points in the game for number 2 in white. A jumper looked flat, and Echenike grabs the rebound.
Yeah, Marcus Evans does not look explosive to me. I saw him when he played at Rice. He was hello and goodbye. Now he's sort of hello and I'll kind of see you later on. Yeah. He's just not as quick as he used to be.
He was first team All-Conference USA 2 years running before he transferred to VCU to follow his head coach Mike Rhodes.
He was a 23-point-a-game guy. He'll get there.
He is. No call, off the window. Pretty bucket from Evans there.
And that's what he can do. He's a good three-point shooter. When he gets by you, he's creative with the basketball.
And it's double jeopardy when VCU can score the basketball, which they struggle to do because it enables them to set up their full court press. Great follow by Rod Brown, the redshirt freshman out of Tennessee.
Well, he's got pogo stick hops. Wichita State now goes to that 2-3 zone again for the next possession. See if Marcus Evans can figure it out.
Deep three, Crowfield off the mark. Weak side rebound to Burton.
VCU settling for the three. They only shoot 28% on the season. Advantage, Wichita State.
That's out of bounds. And it'll be VCU, oh no, it'll be Wichita State. No, check that, it will be VCU basketball. With 9:29 to go, Wichita State has led throughout. They're up 4, 21-17. VCU right now 0 for 6 from three-point range.
On the last couple against that zone, look for Greg Marshall to continue to pack that thing in and force contested three-point shots.
The Rams are 333rd in the nation in three-point percentage. Why do they persist shooting that many threes?
Well, for one thing, this is a team that's predicated on getting shots up and making pace out of their game. And so they're not shy about getting the ball up from the three-point line. And Mike Rhodes believes they're a better shooting team than what they've shown so far.
Now we have a stoppage of play. Some debris is on the court right now. It's actually one of the plates that's at center court. There are two of them sandwiching either side of the VCU logo at midcourt, and the officials wanted to stamp them down. Here's that half-court pressure from VCU taking its toll.
He did everything wrong and got away with it.
Burton. And a foul called on VCU. And it's right in front of the VCU bench, and Mike Rhodes can't believe it.
Well, that possession started with Mike Rhodes coming up, double-teaming Ricky Torres, who dribbled the ball to the sideline, which is a third defender in that situation. He got lucky and got out of it, but I'm sure Greg Marshall's going to make that adjustment at halftime. You can't do that against their pressure.
Shot clock gets reset to 20 seconds, 8:45 to go in the half. Here's a high hedge from Santos Silva, and he retreats.
Give that to Nike. Go play some inside-out basketball. Good defense inside by Santos Silva.
5 on the shot clock. Torres with 2 to shoot. Burton got it off, and it's good. With the shot clock running out, Jamarius Burton with his first bucket of the game, and it's a triple.
Now, Jamarius Burton, he thinks he's a bully guard, but that type of a finesse play is where he needs to go.
Evans might have gotten away with an over and back there. And there's a bucket by number 11, Keyshawn Curry.
Wichita State so far doing a good job taking care of the ball in the full court situation, but a little iffy in the half court situation at times.
And we've got a timeout on the floor, and Jamie Eshanike is down near his own basket, grabbing his ankle. When we come back, we'll tell you the connection from a Division III program that ties Greg Marshall and Mike Rhodes. Thanks, Phil. Back here in the Siegel Center in Richmond, Virginia. Wichita State leads at 24-19. Greg Marshall and Mike Rhodes both have a connection to a Division III school, Randolph-Macon College, 15 minutes away in Ashland, Virginia. Mike Rhodes was an assistant and then a 10-year head coach. Greg Marshall played basketball there and then was an assistant, his first job coaching for the Hall of Famer, Hal Nunnally. Both men, when we mentioned Randolph-Macon, Mark, the first thing they said was Hall of Famer, Hal Nunnally.
Yeah, Hal Nunnally made a difference in both of their lives because it wasn't just about basketball. It was about the lessons of life. Hal Nunnally, one of those small college guys that understood the X's and O's, but also how to change young men's lives. Well done by Hal Nunnally.
And a shot clock violation on the Wichita State Shockers. And as we went to break, Some bad news for Wichita State as Jamie Echenike, their starting big man, had to be helped off the floor, couldn't put any weight on his leg. And we'll keep you posted on his pending return, but it did not look promising when he walked off the court.
No, and he's their most consistent, most effective inside presence.
Vann comes up short on the jumper in the paint.
And now with Marcus McDuffie in foul trouble, sitting on the bench, now without Jamie Echenike. And this is a team that can be challenged offensively as well.
Only 2 of the 5 starters on the floor right now for Greg Marshall. 7 on the clock. Here's Torres. Calls his own number and bricks a 3 and a foul on Wichita State. Well, you asked that question earlier when Marcus McDuffie went out. Where's the offense going to come from? Now it's even more critical for them to find an answer to that with 3 of their top scorers off right now.
Yeah, I think Eric Stevenson, even though he's only a freshman, number 10 in black for Wichita State, he's a guy that does have an offensive skill set, and he is aggressive. I think he's a guy they've got to look to get some shots here in their half-court sets.
The only 3 players on Wichita State's roster averaging more than 10 points a game. McDuffie, Samaje Haynes-Jones, and Jamie Echenike are all not playing, but it looks like Haynes-Jones will be checking in as well.
And Eric Stevenson now also has 2 personal fouls.
So VCU in the bonus, they'll shoot 1 and 1. It'll be Isaac Vann at the line.
And so now Stevenson takes a break. Samaje Haynes-Jones comes in to take his spot. So now Haynes-Jones will be the focal point offensively for Wichita State.
Vann, a 77% free throw shooter. Gets the front end of the 1 and 1.
I love this guy. I love the way he defends on ball. He's got some Spider-Man in his game. He gets deflections. He spreads out. And then offensively, he's really good off the dribble.
2 for 2 from the stripe. He went 10 for 10 from the free throw line in that game against St. John's that they lost in overtime, but he went for 30 points and 11 rebounds in that game.
And we saw how athletic and quick St. John's is.
That turnover is 8 for Wichita State, and Isaac Vann with another 2 to give him 8 on the game. And VCU is within 1 with 6 minutes to go in the first half. Torres traveled. Turnover number 9 for the Shockers. And it's danger time for Greg Marshall. This was his biggest concern. How would the young players on his roster handle the havoc?
Whenever you play VCU, you have to avoid this. Turnovers, giving the ball up, and getting this crowd into the basketball game.
Marcus McDuffie set to check back in. VCU trying to take their first lead of the game.
Good block off.
Here's Jamarius Burton. Freshman out of Charlotte, controlling the point for the Shockers now.
Wants number 4 in black, Samaje Haynes-Jones has the ball in his hands right now.
Dials it up again, can't hit this time, and the weak side rebound to Santos Silva.
Vann wants it, he's going to get it.
Evans splits the D. And the foul is called, and Marcus Evans will shoot the 1 and 1. Well, that foul goes on Samaje Haynes-Jones. More bad news for Wichita State.
And Marcus McDuffie now coming back into the game. So if you're Mike Rhodes, what are you going to do? You're going to isolate him and go right at it, try to get him to pick up his 3rd.
And now Greg Marshall forced to go deeper into his bench. Eli Farrakhan checking on. He's only played in 3 games, a total of 8 minutes this season. And Farrakhan is on with 5 minutes to go in the first half.
Yeah, he's their 5th guard. And here he is in Richmond, Virginia against Havoc.
Evans has 5. We have a tie ball game, 24 apiece. And now VCU on top for the second time this afternoon. No points, 3 turnovers in the last 3 minutes for Wichita State. Isaiah Poor-Bear Chandler is on as well for Marshall. And that's off the hands and out of bounds off of Evans. It'll stay Wichita State basketball. Good break for the Shockers there.
When VCU goes full court pressure, their entire goal is to speed you up. Those early shots are going to lead to easy baskets on the opposite end. It didn't that time, but mark my words, it will happen.
Inside, McDuffie got fouled. So Marcus McDuffie will go to the line. He has 8 points to lead all scorers so far. But saddled with early foul trouble. 2 fouls on McDuffie. Hits the first. Saturday, December 29th is not all about college football. ESPN2 has a college basketball rivalry doubleheader for you. First, it's Davidson taking on number 9 North Carolina at noon, and then it's number 19 Kentucky and Louisville in their annual battle. You can always watch both of those on the ESPN app. And of course, the Wildcats are playing the Tar Heels as we speak right now.
UK and Louisville. Chris Mack used to coach for Xavier for the crosstown shootout. You move about 75 miles south, the next thing you know, you're playing Kentucky.
Evans got fouled, and he'll go to the line and shoot. And despite being 0 for 9 from 3-point range, VCU is tied with Wichita State, 25 all, with 4:23 to go.
And despite all the foul trouble and revolving guards for Greg Marshall, it's a tie game for Wichita State. Now VCU by 1.
Talk to Greg Marshall about how he's felt so far this season. I mean, you talk about 8 first-year players, 6 freshmen, 2 JUCO transfers. He lost all but 11% of the minutes played from last year. He said it's been a grind. He was he was very honest about that and up front. It's been a grind, but it also has rejuvenated him. He's had to get back to coaching more than he ever has in recent years. Here's the lob from McDuffie. Great look from Torres to McDuffie on the dunk.
That's what they need to continue to do. Attack that press and score.
Jenkins can't answer with a 3 ball. And we have another stoppage of play. Let's take a look at that alley-oop.
Ricky Torres right away. Head up, looks up floor. Marcus McDuffie is running the floor hard. He sprints the floor. That's the key.
McDuffie has 11 points, 4 for 5 from the field. He has been, as advertised, top scorer in the American Conference coming into this afternoon's game, as Corey Douglas misses the front end. And he goes 0 for 2. And Poor-Bear Chandler grabs the rebound.
Well, if you are Wichita State and you can get this 4-minute segment done in a tie game or down 1 or 2, that's a huge morale boost for this team with all the foul trouble they've had, and then with Echenike being out with the lower leg injury.
Another tough shot from Torres. And VCU with a chance to go back on top. Drive and kick. And the 3 ball is off the mark. They're still 0 for the field from beyond distance. Here's McDuffie in transition. He has been the star of the game, Marcus McDuffie with 14. 3 triples for McDuffie so far today.
Well, we said he's got to be in the 30-point range, and so far in the first half, he's been really good.
And Vann answers with the 3, their first triple of the game for the Rams. .30 apiece, under 3 minutes to go in the first half. There's a turnover. Vann tries it again. Got it again.
Here we go. Sharks smell blood.
And Marcus Evans diving into our table here right in front of the broadcast team as we go to break with 2:31 to go. VCU wreaking havoc and taking a 3-point lead.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by Reese's Peanut Butter Cups. Not sorry, Reese's.
Thanks, Phil. Wichita State, VCU in a battle that is living up to its billing so far. 33-30 VCU with the lead, 2:31 to go, and they took the 3-point lead courtesy of an Isaac Vann three-pointer. As a matter of fact, Vann hit back-to-back three-pointers. It was the first 2 threes of the game for VCU. How have they gotten on top?
Well, VCU, first of all, they shoot 28% from 3. They've shot like a team that shoots 28% from 3, but now they get back-to-back from Vann. But the turnovers for Wichita State, that's the biggest key. Wichita State averages under 13 turnovers a game. They've got 10 for the first half, and number 3 in black, Ricky Torres, has 5 of those turnovers from the point guard position.
Inside, good look. And a terrific play run by Greg Marshall's club out of the timeout. It gets knocked out of bounds.
Greg Marshall is so good about situational basketball, slips the screen right there. Really good reaction defensively as Marcus Santos Silva goes in and rejects it.
Now 10 on the shot clock for the Shockers. Torres off the mark. And his rough afternoon continues.
Very rough.
Evans. Rebound from McDuffie. Wichita State could tie with a 3. Farrakhan. I don't know if that was a lob or a shot. Either way, it's VCU basketball.
Well, and now the foul trouble and lack of guard depth is starting to affect the flow of this basketball game. But Wichita State, in spite of all that, still down only 3 here in the first half.
Nice duck under inside, and Santos Silva has another bucket, and it's an 8-0 VCU run.
Without Jamie Echenike, the long presence inside, Wichita State becomes a little bit defenseless in the paint.
Both teams coming in at 7-4. VCU has lost their last 2. Wichita State has won 5 of their last 6. That ball goes out of bounds. It'll stay with the Shockers.
Yeah, VCU with a road win at Texas. They knocked off Temple earlier this year. Wichita State, of course, won at home against Baylor.
A use it or lose it timeout by Greg Marshall in Wichita State. We'll step aside for 30 seconds. .109 to go from the Siegel Center in Richmond, Virginia. VCU with a 5-point lead over Wichita State. Rich Hollenberg, Mark Adams, wishing you and yours happy holidays. Hope you're enjoying a weekend full of college basketball. Some good games on tap, and this certainly has been one of them. Here's Udeze, and Morris Udeze out of the timeout has an and one opportunity.
Morris Udeze down low. Look how low he gets here. Finally gets the ball in those big paws. Shaq Morris-like, if you will, powering through the defender.
Udeze, another freshman who's getting significant playing time for Greg Marshall, will step to the line and try to complete the 3-point play.
Similar body type as Shaq Morris, especially earlier in his career. And then Shaq Morris wedged his body into a force in college basketball.
Udeze picks up the miss. And instead of a 3-point play, it effectively becomes a 4-point play.
Just stayed with it. I think those are called play angry points, if memory serves.
Evans in trouble. Almost turned it over. 10 on the shot clock for the Rams. Saved by Brown, and Wichita State has it. A chance to go on top with a bucket. 4-second differential between the shot clock and the game clock. Tried to force it inside and turned it over. Jenkins follows it up.
You got to push it, only 12 seconds.
Last shot time for the Shockers. And we will go to halftime with VCU up by 3, 37-34 on Wichita State. Now we send it to the halftime report. Here's Phil Murphy and the gang. Well, if you're wondering where Rudolph is, he's hanging out with the Rams. And the VCU Rams lead Wichita State 37-34 from Richmond, Virginia. Back inside the Siegel Center alongside Mark Adams. I'm Rich Hollenberg. Happy holidays to everybody. We did our part today. But VCU is up 3 at the half, and you can only imagine what the score would be if it wasn't for the play of Marcus McDuffie for the Shockers.
Well, we talked about that Marcus McDuffie had to go for 30 for Wichita State to have a chance. He has 14 for the first half. Marcus McDuffie is the spiritual, physical, offensive leader of this basketball team, and he's done it extremely well against a very difficult defense. Now, VCU, on the other hand, has played defense, but watch how they got turnovers. Watch the eyes of the passers of Wichita State Shockers. They telegraph passes, this team gets in the passing lane. Put the ball over your head, telegraph a pass, VCU gets the passing lane. Look at your guy you're going to throw to, telegraph the pass, turns to a turnover. And then unfundamental basketball, trying to squeeze through 4 defenders, and it turns into turnover and a breakout for Isaac Vann. That's why VCU is ahead, but only by 3, even with the foul trouble and with Jamie Echenike not playing the last 7 minutes of the first half.
And the big man Echenike for Wichita State will not play in the second half. We're told he has a foot injury and will not return, so adding injury to insult for Wichita State. There's a tip follow by Marcos Santos Silva.
So why is Wichita State playing zone? Well, for one thing, VCU hasn't shown the consistent ability to make a 3-point shot, and they've got to protect everybody with foul trouble.
Yeah, the Rams only hit 2 threes in the first half, and it was the last 2 they took, courtesy of Isaac Vann, who leads them in scoring in the first half with 14. Mike Rhodes' team 7-2 this season when they have the lead at halftime. They're up 5 now. Here's McDuffie. 14 in the first half for him. Stevenson still scoreless. Good hustle by Adeze, and the foul is going to be called on VCU. And that's the 3rd foul on Santos Silva, so he immediately has to go to the bench.
Rich, these early possessions for Wichita State, this is where Marcus McDuffie has to make his mark. You know that VCU is saying, we got to stop number 1. But he gets a touch. That's exactly what you want if you're Wichita State, getting the basketball.
Goes out of bounds, and it will be VCU basketball. And Wichita State's going to show some full court pressure to start the half. Both teams 7-4 coming in as we round out non-conference play and head into the new year and the conference schedules. Wichita State has the rest of the year off, and they will open up conference play on January 3rd at Memphis. VCU will host Ryder the day before New Year's Eve before starting A-10 play on the road at Fordham. There's a 3 by De'Riante Jenkins, his first triple of the game, and he's in double digits with 10. It's the largest lead of the game for the Rams. Udeze can't handle the classic close range. It's out of bounds and stays Wichita State basketball.
Now that was a rocket shot from Burton to Udeze. Hard to handle that pass.
Samaje Haynes-Jones starting the half on the bench. He has 3 fouls for Greg Marshall.
Good cut.
They go inside out. Stevenson. Still can't buy one. And Torres is going to get whistled for the foul on the floor.
Well, Isaac Vann really impresses me. I think he's going to be a very difficult matchup in the Atlantic 10. He's got good size at 6'6". He's got a tremendous first step. We saw his ability to make the 3-ball.
Talked to Mike Rhodes about Vann. He really covets his versatility. Can play multiple positions for him. Really shows up in the press. Very athletic player for Mike Rhodes in VCU.
And in a league this year, the Atlantic 10 is always good, but there's no alpha dog. You know, preseason polls pick St. Joe's. And St. Joe's with Charlie Brown has a great score. And then you've got Dayton with Josh Cunningham, a good player inside. You've got Davidson, obviously.
Jenkins, another 3. That's back-to-back triples for Dariante Jenkins.
This VCU squad's going to be right there in the A-10.
They were preseason 7th picked in the A-10. Wichita State was preseason 8th in the American. And I bet if you polled each one of the coaches in their respective conferences, these two teams would be one of the teams they would least like to play.
Well, I certainly think VCU continues to get better. And the biggest key, I think, for VCU, if Marcus Evans can continue to get healthy, those 2 Achilles tendon injuries, which are the toughest injuries to come back from, he's doing a good job. But if he becomes the Marcus Evans that plays at Rice, then VCU would be my pick.
Now Haynes-Jones, number 4 in black, back on the floor with those 3 fouls. Stevenson looking to get on track. Haynes-Jones dials it up. VCU coming to life from beyond the arc. They were 0 for 10, and now they're 4 for their last 6. Here's Evans, a little shake and bake. And there's the old Marcus Evans.
Yeah, that looks more like Marcus Evans. Wichita State went man-to-man. Marcus Evans felt like he could create his own shot off the dribble. Well done by number 2 for VCU.
A 10-0 Rams run. And Evans is the 3rd Ram in double digits. McDuffie, too strong.
Now, that was a nothing possession for Wichita State. Nothing happened.
Shockers have yet to get in the scoring column. 3+ minutes gone by in the second half. Nice feed to Douglas from Jenkins. And Greg Marshall wants to talk things over. Greg Marshall and the Wichita State Shockers are getting shut out in the second half. It's been all Rams.
VCU unselfish inside. That's why they've won 82% at home. This team can play.
VCU shooting 5 for 6 to start the second half. Conversely, Wichita State 0 for the field so far.
Rich, we sense this run coming out of the break. VCU knocking down the 3-ball, and they basically become a little bit defenseless inside, does Wichita State, without Jamie Echenike. And all of a sudden, Marcus Evans then gets it going as well. And VCU hitting on all cylinders offensively. No question this team can defend. If they can score like that, they will be a load in the Atlantic 10.
VCU is 16th in the nation in turnover percentage. Currently on a 12-0 run, and if Greg Marshall ever needed a bucket, it's right now out of this timeout.
Here's where you need a sit down and shut up guy. Somebody that's not afraid to take and make big shots. It'll be Burton.
Rebound, Udeze. And VCU commits the foul on the floor. Well, Greg Marshall hasn't faced this kind of roster turnover in his 21-plus years as a head coach, let alone his dozen as the head man at Wichita State. 487 career wins coming in.
Well, remember, this was a program that just 2 seasons ago was in the Missouri Valley Conference. Now, they had Landry Shaman, who's a pro, and he left after last season. Now, it'd be a different story if Landry Shaman had come back, but that's just not the case. He's doing quite well with the 76ers, thank you.
And a block called. That's going to go on VCU's Marcus Evans.
Let's watch Marcus Evans here as Eric Stevenson tries to take him off the bounce. See if he establishes defensive guarding position. Wow.
We'll take a timeout. When we come back, Wichita State will have the basketball after the VCU foul. 15:54 to go. Saturday, December 29th on ESPN, we'll have the college football playoff semifinals. Kicking things off with number 2 Clemson and number 3 Notre Dame in the Goodyear Cotton Bowl Classic. That's at 4 Eastern. Then number 1 Alabama and number 4 Oklahoma in the Capital One Orange Bowl. Both games also live on the ESPN app, so you can watch them anywhere. Hard to believe that that's just 1 week away. We're at that time of year. Non-conference games winding down. The conference schedule about to crank up in college hoops.
Wichita State goes on the road to play Penny Hardaway's Memphis bunch, Jeremiah Martin and company. Alex Lomax, who originally signed at Wichita State, and then Penny Hardaway got the job. Alex played for Penny. Greg Marshall released him from the letter of intent. Now Lomax will play against Wichita State in his American Conference opener.
How about Penny and Memphis reigniting that rivalry with the Tennessee Volunteers?
Yeah, there's not going to be any Christmas cards exchanged between Rick Barnes and Penny Hardaway anytime in the very near future.
Tennessee, another big win today against Wake Forest.
Boy, they're good.
Number 3 team in the country.
They have so many diverse weapons offensively. Yeah. Are they better offensively than defensively? That's why Tennessee's good, because you can't answer that question. They're really good at both.
They have 1 loss, only 6 undefeated teams now remaining. The last 3 of the 9 teams coming into the week all lost. Buffalo lost on the road to Marquette. And Furman went to LSU and lost in Baton Rouge. And Texas Tech on the road at MSG lost to the Duke Blue Devils earlier in the week on Thursday. Tonight, Kansas is going to have a tough test in Tempe against an Arizona State team that beat them at Fog Allen last year.
And in the American, Houston is one of those undervalued stocks that I would invest in right now. Kelvin Sampson has a group of guards that's good as any group of guards in the country. Armani Brooks can really shoot the basketball. Robinson is a guy that has great leadership ability. Davis, another guy with great leadership ability. And then you got Fabian White inside, who's a blossoming big guy. Brayon Brady, who has a, kind of that nasty, dirty, blue-collar mentality inside. I love the way Houston plays, undefeated now, and headed for the American in conference play coming up in just a couple weeks. And don't forget about Cincinnati. They lose 2 pros. They lose Gary Clark, who's a really good player for the Houston Rockets, and Jacob Evans with the Warriors. And Cincinnati beat the holy dog out of the UCLA Bruins the other night. I mean, if it was a price fight, it would have been stopped in the 2nd round. It was ugly for UCLA. Of course, it's ugly for the Pac-12 right now.
And I know you mentioned this earlier about the A-10, which is VCU's conference. They don't have a lead dog. Maybe the same could be said about the American, but they have some depth.
Yeah, they have a lot. That's exactly right, Rich. That's the thing about the American is while maybe you don't have the Cincinnati bell cow or the Wichita State bell cow from a year ago, you've got a bunch of really good teams. That's 4 fouls now on Samaje Haynes-Jones. I mean, Temple with Shiz Alston, Quentin Rose. Good guards in the American that can all score.
And now things go from bad to worse with Samaje Haynes-Jones saddled with his 4th foul. And Ricky Torres takes his place on the floor.
Which UCF has picked to win the league. B.J. Taylor, a real fine guard. Of course, Taco Fall, the Death Star inside. This is a 10-foot force field around the basket. It'll be a fun year in the American.
I got a chance to see UCF when they won the Myrtle Beach Invitational. Yeah. And I think the interesting thing about that Knights team is opposing teams almost need to game plan for two different UCF teams. The team with Taco Fall on the floor and the team without him. You just don't see 7'6" very often.
No, and the way that he times his jumps and blocks shots, it just changes the game when he's in the game.
Here's McDuffie, transition three, too strong. And things have come undone here inside the Siegel Center for Wichita State. No points in the first 6 minutes of the second half.
Yeah, and a young team on the road. We saw this against Oklahoma, where this team just couldn't buy a basket, and then offense affected their defense, and then everything just went to heck. And that's the thing you want to avoid now if you're trying to recycle your program. Greg Marshall's not rebuilding Wichita State. He's recycling into a new recruiting process in a new conference.
6 freshmen, 2 junior college players, so 8 total first-year players in the program on the floor for Greg Marshall. And when you couple that with playing against a team as aggressive defensively as Mike Rhodes' VCU Rams are, it could be a recipe for disaster.
Well, and that's an example of the frustration. A young player, Eric Stevenson, who wants to make something happen. But you've got veteran defenders who know how to take a charge, and they establish their defensive guarding position. It's predictable, but as a coach, it's really difficult.
Freshman Bird off the mark with the straightaway 3, and McDuffie has another rebound.
Well, they are just shadowing McDuffie. They want to cut down on his touches. They've done a good job of it. He finally hits it.
Tries to go completely through the VCU defense and comes up empty.
Now, Wichita State now forcing things offensively.
Again, no Jamie Echenike for the Wichita State Shockers. Went down with a foot injury early in the first half and has not returned and will not return. He's the 3rd leading scorer for the Shockers.
And remember how this game started with Echenike touches inside. And when Isaac Vann touches the ball, a lot of good things happen for VCU.
First 2 of the second half for Vann. He leads all scorers with 16. Burton with the finish at the hole.
Good athletic play.
And that's the first, Mark, that's the first points of the half for Wichita State.
Wow.
There are slumps and there are black holes. And Wichita State is going to have to climb out of this one if they want to make this one close with 12:03 to go on the road against VCU.
And VCU, let's give them a lot of credit. This is a nasty, stingy defense that pressures you, forces turnovers in the half-court situation. They rotate so well. Mike Rhodes has a defensive juggernaut working here in Richmond, Virginia right now.
Here's Burton again. And Jamarius Burton, aggressive to the hole. He'll shoot 2 when we return. It's been all VCU in the second half. They're up 53-36 on the Shockers.
UFC fans, this is the moment you truly all been waiting for.
Happy holidays to you and yours from the Siegel Center in Richmond, Virginia, where VCU is all over Wichita State 53-36. Alongside Mark Adams, I'm Rich Hollenberg. And Mark, we've talked throughout this game about the big turnover on the roster for Greg Marshall and the Shockers. 9 players gone from last year's team, 8 first-year players on the roster. So how does that affect the job of Greg Marshall just coaching from game to game?
Well, first of all, you need to understand that foul trouble is death for you because you don't have the depth on your bench. Echenike goes down. We saw how it affects Wichita State inside. When Marcus McDuffie goes out with foul trouble, is there another guy to step in, a recognizable guy that can score for you? And so as a coach, you've really got to dial your expectation down, but also dial your expectation of execution up. Because all those guys who aren't as good, and they are in a cycle year where they've lost a lot of good players and trying to rebuild their roster now. So you've got to make sure that everybody executes. It's like what we showed at halftime. Telegraphing passes is the death knell for this team. You got to catch square, make a fake, and then make a play. It's all those lessons, Rich, that guys haven't learned in the bright lights in front of a sellout crowd in Richmond, Virginia.
Greg said he's spending a lot more time watching film, a lot more time teaching than maybe in past years when he had leaders like Van Vliet on the floor and Ron Baker on the floor.
Got Takeo Cotton to be your defensive leader, Cleanthony Early to knock down big shots. I mean, you've got all those weapons, and then all of a sudden you cycle through all of those great players, and then all of a sudden you're having to recruit into a new conference as well. It's their second year, but this was their first recruiting class at the American level. It's going to take some time.
Burton, he's been aggressive. And they count the basket for Burton.
Well, with Dexter Dennis also out with the concussion, Jamarius Burton's a guy that needs to be that bully guard. He needs to step up and make plays, and he has here the last couple possessions.
Well, guess what? He scored every single point for Wichita State this half. There's Vince Williams with his first bucket.
We got a little bit of extracurricular activity between Williams and McDuffie right now. And the official just pointed it out, and all the officials are focused on it. There it is.
And Greg Marshall, I have a feeling if he could walk inside the locker room right now, he would.
Now this started on the way down, so there's the first shove. Official didn't call anything, we played through it. And then McDuffie comes up. Might have sold that one a little bit, but still, when the officials are focused on you,
well, just for observation's sake, Vince Williams is a freshman. Marcus McDuffie is a senior.
Yeah.
That shouldn't happen.
And one word to describe that starts with an F: frustration.
Here's Crowfield for three. McDuffie rises up, can't knock it down. He, like so many of the Shockers, 0 for the field in the second half. And I remember a time, let's go back 6 years or so ago, when Wichita State's best offense was getting their own misses. They weren't an exceptionally talented offensive team back in the day. But all of a sudden, Greg Marshall in the recruiting cycle started bringing some really talented offensive players, and they were scoring as well as anybody in the country and defending as well as anybody in the country too. And that's what led to a Final Four run, an undefeated season, and the national reputation that Greg Marshall has earned.
And we can see that Mike Rhodes is in a year ahead of Wichita State, where Marcus Evans sat out last year. An impact transfer that can come in. He can run the show. He can make shots. He's got experience. And so this roster is stronger for VCU with an Isaac Vann, a Marcus Evans, guys like that, who have played a lot of minutes and are simply more mature than this Wichita State team.
Well, Jamarius Burton has been the lone bright spot in the second half offensively for the Wichita State Shockers. 10 points for Burton, 7 of them coming in the second half.
Well, and that's good news for Wichita State with Dexter Dennis being out. You need somebody else to step up, and it creates depth for later on in the season.
Five on the shot clock. Extra pass to Evans. Too strong.
I like the execution by VCU, though. Making the extra pass. Trying to expose rotations of Wichita State.
And Wichita State still down 14. Still have a puncher's chance with 9 minutes to go in this contest. VCU all of a sudden has cooled off offensively.
See how Isaac Vann makes a pass fake right there? That's a seasoned veteran. It looks simple, but how many times do you see guys just telegraph their passes?
On the floor, Williams ties it up. Possession arrow will be to Wichita State. Despite the good hustle from the freshman, Vince Williams. Well, the Rams' offensive inabilities are allowing the Wichita State Shockers to try to climb back in this. Only one Rams field goal in the last 4 minutes. We highlighted it at the top of this telecast, Mark. It's going to be a defensive battle between two of the top defensive teams in the nation.
But then you see VCU against St. John's, for example, who they lost to in overtime. I mean, that was a high-level offensive affair. They scored in that game. So they've shown the ability in certain games, but not consistently.
It's another Wichita State turnover. Here's Sims, off the mark from 3. Good hustle by McDuffie to save it. Evans, hesitation move.
That's what I expected to see, and I finally saw it. This kid has battled back from 2 Achilles tendon injuries, and this time explodes to the basket. I'm happy for you, Marcus Evans. You've earned your way back. John Morant, one of the special players from Murray State that maybe you haven't seen. He's an NBA talent that plays for the Racers. Keep your eye on Murray State and the OVC along with Belmont as well. But how about some enthusiastic American Athletic Conference Christmas greetings? Tulsa tidings to everyone as Frank Haith has his team at 9-3 with the dark horse in the American. The Grinch stole Christmas in Tennessee. As we mentioned earlier, Penny Hardaway and Rick Barnes will not be exchanging any Christmas cards soon. And the Scrooge, it's always Cincinnati and Nick Cronin. They lead the American, only giving about 57 points per game. That is a stingy Cincinnati defense led by Jaron Cumberland, who can really score.
I'd love seeing Bob Huggins back up in Cincinnati. Represented as one of the, I believe it was 3 coaches to take Cincinnati to a Final Four.
Yeah, and he had the best shoes in the house. Blue and gold.
Just seeing him in a suit kind of blew my mind. But he is nominated for the Naismith Hall of Fame.
And he should be in the Naismith
Absolutely.
Hall of Fame. I mean, what he did at Walsh College first, and then at Akron next, and then, of course, his run at Cincinnati with the Bearcats, taking them to the Final Four in the early 1990s. And then off he goes to Kansas State, and then to West Virginia. One of the truly good guys in college basketball, one of the greatest coaches in the history of the game, Bob Huggins.
There's a 3-pointer by Marcus Evans. That's the 3rd 3-pointer of the half for either team.
It's like a timeout, VCU.
Williams got the timeout called as he went on the floor for the ball. Vince Williams only has 2 points, but he's made quite a number of hustle plays, and that's going to earn you some gold stars for Mike Rhodes and company.
You know, in the interest of fair play, we talked about the American. We've also got to give Christmas greetings out to the Atlantic 10. Merry Christmas, Charlie Brown. St. Joe's Charlie Brown, 22 points a game. 3-point line, he's 52%. Bah humbug, VCU. One of the great defensive teams in America, the top 10 in the national stats. And Uncle Eddie's of the A-10, that's Duquesne and Fordham. Who'd have thunk it? But Keith Dambrot has a good team with Duquesne, who almost knocked off Penn State in a very controversial ending in that call. Fordham now also at 9-3 right now. St. Louis and Davidson at 8-3.
You got a Christmas Vacation mention in there.
You know, Uncle Eddie's my favorite Christmas figure. I won't do any quotes on Uncle Eddie, but he's my favorite.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't think you're allowed to.
Yeah. Well, I could do it once.
They go inside. Santos Silva. Nice touch from Marcus Santos Silva. 8 points for the big man.
Without Echenique, I'm kind of surprised VCU hasn't gone more to Santos Silva. He's got good hands. He's a big, strong athlete. He can dominate inside. And there goes Torres to the sideline again, and that's a charge.
And Ricky Torres is having a nightmarish afternoon in Richmond, Virginia.
So point guards, when you're double teamed, you can't shade to the sideline. That's an extra defender at the sideline and the half-court line. There's now 4 guys guarding him for all intents and purposes. It's great defense by VCU, and these local fans appreciate it.
The lead is up to 19, counting down to 6 minutes to go. Vann, air ball. The look ahead. And here's McDuffie trying to finish at the rim, and Marcus McDuffie will go to the line.
And that's a heck of a catch. Marcus McDuffie looks like an NFL wide receiver here on a Hail Mary pass. He just goes up and gets it, and then get the ball to the rim. It's a big-time play.
Well, it was a 3-point game at the half. Now it's a 19-point game, and one of the reasons, Mark, Marcus McDuffie had 14 first-half points, and if he makes a free throw, it'll be his first of the second half.
And what we say, he needs to be a 30-point scorer today for Wichita State to have a chance. And that's the conundrum for Wichita State, where you've got a really good player like Marcus McDuffie, but here's the bad news, Rich. Everybody knows who he is that you're playing against. And they're going to game plan against him.
Yeah. He's number 1 on the scouting report, and there's not even a close number 2.
No. And in the American, you basically got to have 2 NBA-like guys to win this league. That's a fact. Cincinnati last year, they had 2 NBA guys, they won the league. Wichita State had 1 in Landry Shannon. I saw Jalen Adams at UConn earlier this year, too. Their guards are really good. And Danny Hurley's got them playing like rabid dogs.
Yeah. Villanova beat UConn earlier today. 5 on the shot clock. Here's the freshman Bird. Jenkins had to force that one up, and another rebound from McDuffie.
And if that one went in, just turn off the lights.
Paige Jones, nice feed inside from Stevenson to Deze.
Good job by Eric Stevenson, catching, squaring up, and seeing the big guy inside. Well done. That's what you got to build on.
Yep.
That's what you got to build on. Those execution points you have to build on.
Sean Mobley forces it up, and they call, is that an offensive foul or a traveling?
That's a charge.
An offensive foul on Sean Mobley.
If you wanted to charge, it was a walk.
The VCU lead is 15. Wichita State trying to chip away.
Now will this team compete like the Greg Marshall teams have competed over the last decade?
5 to shoot. Udeze inside. Stevenson can't get it to go. One thing that Greg Marshall said about coaching youngsters is they all have to learn how to play hard for 40 minutes.
Yeah.
Some of them, most of them, know how to play hard for spurts, but not for an entire game, or sometimes not even for an entire half. That's the learning process in college basketball.
And scores would indicate that. They had over a 30-point lead against Baylor. They won that game, but second half, they only won it by 7. They had a 20-point lead against Southern Miss, and that game went down to the wire. So those are the things that you look at as a coach with a young team. How do you get better? Better execution over a longer period of time, playing harder over a longer period of time.
It's a jump ball under the basket. It'll be VCU ball when we return. They have a 64-47 lead on their home turf. Back inside the Siegel Center, where Mike Rhodes looks like his team will end up with a big W, their 8th of the year. And Mike Rhodes has climbed his way all from Division III obscurity. He was the player of the year for Lebanon Valley in Division III, then went to Randolph-Macon, where he was an assistant and then head coach for 10 years, made a Final Four on Shaka Smart's staff back in 2011, plied his own wares at Rice as the head coach for 3 years, whereas you mentioned earlier, Mark, a real big turnaround there in that conference and for that team. And now he's back home in some ways in Richmond, Virginia, taking over for Will Wade, who left here after a couple of seasons. And he wants to bring havoc back. That is what he learned under Shaka Smart, and that's what we've seen here today.
What was interesting about Mike Rhodes, when we talked about his greatest coaching influences, obviously Shaka Smart is high on that list, but Hal Nunley, a small college head coach at Randolph-Macon, who hired him as an assistant coach when he was 22 years old and insisted that Mike wear a coat and tie every single day to work. And that planted the roots of a disciplined young head coach. At the age of 25, he became the head coach based upon Hal Nunley's recommendation, and Mike Rhodes became a 25-year-old head coach at Randolph-Macon, had a tremendous run there. But it goes back to those coat and tie days as a young, small college basketball coach who earned his stripes and now applying them for one of the great programs in the country here at VCU. What a tremendous story.
And of course, the highlight of our conversation with Mike Rhodes had to have been the fact that he's a Bruce Springsteen.
Absolutely, yeah. You and Mike are Bruce Springsteen's greatest fans, I think.
That, above all else, is what separates him from so many coaches.
So he listens to Springsteen, like going to practice and all those kinds of things. He has a 14-year-old son named Josh, who constantly tells him, Dad, it's not cool. It's not cool. Now, I think Springsteen's cool.
It is very cool.
Josh, you gotta lighten up, man. Give your dad a break. Springsteen's 69 years old, the coolest 69-year-old dude on the planet.
Santos Silva.
Yeah, that's smart. That's smart. That's good basketball right there.
Double digits for Marcos Santos Silva, who's averaging over 11 points and 11 boards in his last 2 games. McDuffie. McDuffie again. Same result.
But on the plus side, Jamarius Burton with an offensive rebound. That freshman has played well here in the second half, and a bright spot for Wichita State.
The Shockers 0 for their last 13 from beyond the arc. And give this VCU defense a lion's share of the credit for that.
I love this crowd here. Knowledgeable basketball fans. Love the Roundhouse, the UD Arena, the Siegel Center, Hinkle Fieldhouse.
Yeah. Those are some of the best home court advantages in all of basketball.
Whenever I get to go to those arenas, I circle it on my calendar. It's my favorite places to go.
Since 2011, when you count this as a win, VCU will be 103-21 at home in the Siegel Center.
You know what the crazy thing is, Rich? Over basically the same amount of time, Wichita State has won 82%, which is the same number of their road games.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Don't forget, later tonight, the #1 Kansas Jayhawks will be in Tempe to take on the 18th-ranked Arizona State Sun Devils, and Bobby Hurley's got that team playing well. They're ranked 18th in the country, and they picked off Kansas at Kansas last year. Could we possibly see another fall from the ranks of the unbeaten?
Well, and the Pac-12 definitely needs some wins right now.
Well, SportsCenter tonight following the SoFi Hawaii Bowl on ESPN with Bucci and Anderson. They'll recap both NFL games and look at the playoff implications, plus highlights from the big Mavs-Warriors matchup and Kentucky-North Carolina from the Dean Dome. SportsCenter after Hawaii, Louisiana Tech on ESPN. That's coming up later tonight.
Luke May and Cameron Johnson for the Tar Heels taking on Kentucky. Another Johnson, Kelton Johnson. Reed Travis, going to be a good matchup.
Well, VCU is going to improve to 8-4 on the season. The Shockers will drop to 7-5 before the start of American Conference play. They'll open up conference play on January 3rd on the road at Memphis to take on Penny Hardaway and the Tigers.
And they'll be home on January 6th against Temple in the Roundhouse.
McDuffie, sensational first half, and struggled like the rest of his teammates in the second half. It's been all VCU in the second stanza. They led by 3 at the break, and they're going to win this one by 16. Your final score, VCU 70, Wichita State 54. Final comments, Mr. Adams.
VCU dominated defensively, and their will to win was simply greater today.
So Mike Rhodes and company improved to 8-4 on the season. They're next up on the 30th of December as they host Ryder. For everybody here at the Siegel Center and on the ESPN crew, including my broadcast partner Mark Adams, I'm Rich Hollenberg saying so long, happy holidays everyone, and now we send you to SportsCenter.